Welcome to Ancient World Studies. My name is Dr. Raoul McLaughlin. The question is, what is the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea? In ancient times, the Roman Empire developed important trade routes leading across the Indian Ocean. Large fleets of Roman merchant ships sailed from Red Sea ports in Egypt to trade destinations in southern Arabia, East Africa, and the Indian kingdoms. These ships crossed thousands of miles of ocean, using the seasonal monsoon winds to reach distant markets. They traded Roman merchandise for unique Eastern goods and foreign products that could not be widely produced in Mediterranean climates. This included spices, incense, cottons, silks, ivory, pearls, and gemstones. Roman crews engaged in these voyages spent months beyond the empire, crossing hazardous seas or engaging with distantly foreign kingdoms and cultures. Writing in the Augustan era, the Greek geographer Strabo reports that a merchant fleet of 120 Roman ships sailed for India every year. Evidence from harbour facilities, shipwrecks, and an ancient cargo manifesto confirms that these ships had a capacity of over 200 tons. Consequently, Roman commerce in the Indian Ocean was a significant economic phenomenon. Its importance to the Roman economy is explained by the Eastern commercial revenue model. One of the main sources for the study of Rome's Eastern commerce is a merchant guidebook called the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. This manuscript is a short practical handbook that contains 66 concise paragraphs written in a popular form of Greek known as koine. It describes Roman trade ventures across the Indian Ocean, including contacts with ports and markets on the east coast of Africa, exchanges with the regimes of southern Arabia, and commerce with the kingdoms of ancient India. The Periplus contains a list of the main products available from eastern ports. The unnamed author was probably a Greek merchant from Roman Egypt, who was based at Koptos or Alexandria. This man had first-hand experience in sea voyages to India and seems to have written his trade report in about AD 50. The author of the Periplus was probably writing to inform fellow merchants and investors interested in the possibilities of international trade. The report became part of a collection of merchant documents assembled by Roman government in about AD 52. The author describes 3 connected trade courses that led from Egypt across or around the Indian Ocean. One route led down the east coast of Africa, from Ethiopia to Somalia, and from the Horn of Africa to a distant trade post in Tanzania. Another course led around Arabia to connect with ports on the southern seaboard of the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen and Darfur. A final course took Roman ships across the Indian Ocean, using the seasonal monsoon winds to reach city ports on the west coast of India. The Periplus describes important markets and ports along these 3 main trade routes, listing what foreign goods were available at distant trade centres and what Roman commodities could be offered in return. This information would have been useful to less experienced merchants, and also to speculators who lent money to the traders and businessmen who specialised in particular goods. The author of the Periplus describes the monsoon sailing from direct experience and uses phrases such as, "we set a course," and "we put on extra speed." He had visited ports in northwest India, and his account of the region contains several first-hand observations concerning tides and sailing hazards. The Periplus also offers key information about which particular regime or ruler held power in certain regions, and who had authority over the leading ports. This was important because this indicated who it was that controlled a large share of many local products, either from tax, tribute, or state-owned resources. During the time of the Periplus, most Roman ships regularly sailed no further than the Tamil ports on the southwest coast of India. But the author gives his reader a brief account of the east coast of India as far as the Ganges. His information probably came from accounts offered by the few Roman captains who had explored this route. Indian merchants may have been another of his sources, but they offered Roman traders only limited information about their voyages around the Bay of Bengal. The date of the Periplus. The date of the Periplus can be determined by the political and geographical information offered by its author. There is mention of the Nabatean king Malichus II, who was in power from AD 40 to AD 70. The author also describes how the Saka kingdom in western India was ruled by a warlord named Manbanos, who must be King Nahapana because of the phonic similarity and the match of dates. Indian coins and inscriptions confirm that Nahapana held power in northwest India during the mid-2nd century AD. The Periplus describes how the Sakas seized territories on the Konkan seaboard from the Sadhavana realm. Inscriptions from an Indian holy site called Nasik confirm that the Sakas held the territory for several years, during which time they offered royal gifts to Hindu shrines that were commemorated in dedicatory inscriptions. These inscriptions offered dates based on a royal calendar that counted from about AD 10. This was the year when the last Indo-Scythian kings lost power in the Indus region, and the Saka regime in Gujarat became an independent realm. Saka inscriptions at Nasik, dated from year 41 to year 46, were probably set up between AD 51 and AD 56. The Periplus must date to this short period before the Sadhavanas reclaimed their former territories, which included Nasik. There is also the issue of Sri Lanka, which is described in the Periplus as a vast unexplored island beyond the scope of regular Roman trade voyages. Roman merchants speculated that Sri Lanka and Madagascar might be part of the same enormous island. The Periplus reports that in Sri Lanka, only the northern regions are civilized, and the island extends almost to the part of Tanzania, East Africa, that lies opposite. This viewpoint must predate the reception of a Sri Lankan embassy in Rome by the Emperor Claudius, who was in power from AD 41 to AD 54. The Periplus was perhaps among a collection of trade reports assembled by the governor of Egypt when Sinhalese ambassadors arrived in his province. This probably occurred in AD 52. The reports were copied and sent to Rome with the ambassadors so that central government could apprise the possible significance of Sri Lanka and the scope of Eastern trade. Some of these reports entered imperial archives and were later read by Pliny the Elder, who cites Indian Ocean sailing times dated to this period. Pliny reports that Roman ships left for India on the 6th day of the Egyptian month of Mechar, just before January the 13th in our calendar. The two calendars were misaligned, so these dates only coincided in the 4 years between AD 48 and AD 52. The surviving Periplus was probably archived in Alexandria, where it was transferred into Byzantine state records in late antiquity. The Periplus is the only commercial document of its particular kind to survive, and it therefore offers modern scholars a unique insight into the scope and significance of international maritime trade in ancient times. If you're interested in this subject, there is a link below to my books describing Indian Ocean commerce and explaining the Eastern commercial revenue model. The YouTube channel, Voices of the Past, have prepared a reading of the Periplus to include the final section of this important ancient text, describing the lands that lay beyond India and outlying ancient Roman knowledge of China. Thank you.